Joining us now on the Picks for Polls podcast, he's our first offensive lineman to interview with us this spring. He's coming to us from Boise State University, where they've got the cool blue turf. We've got offensive lineman Cade Beresford in the house. You can follow him on Twitter at Cade Beresford. He's here to talk football with us, NFL draft preparation, and a whole lot more. Cade, how's it going? Thanks so much for being on here.
It's going good. I'm excited to be on here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's been a couple of years since we've done an offensive lineman interview, so you are the first one, I want to say, in probably 2 or 3 years, which it's interesting, right? Because coaching high school football here in Illinois for the last couple of years, I mean, I've definitely developed this appreciation for what offensive linemen bring to the game. Like, without them, there is no offense or defense. So for everyone that's focused on all the flashy positions, like, give your props to the O-linemen that make everything happen as well. But, I mean, let's talk football because that's why we're here, right?
Yes,
You are from the, Pacific Northwest. You go to Washington State coming out of high school, and then you end up transferring to Boise State, which I'm pretty sure I've got a Boise State t-shirt somewhere at home because I do collect college t-shirts. But why Boise State after the Cougars program?
Yeah, so my dad, he played ball at Boise State. Grew up a Boise State fan my whole life. It was just somewhere I had a chance at a high school to go play Pac-12 ball. And, I mean, Power 5, and, that's a dream come true for any, kid growing up, and got to do that. And then, the transfer process, it ended up, the first day or two, got that call from one of the coaches and, that opportunity to go to Boise, and I couldn't pass that up. So I was super excited for the chance to do that. And, having my dad there, my brother was able to transfer with me. And it was cool for my family, too, just to be at all the games. And it was a great time. Best decision I could have ever made.
So you mentioned a lot of different things there, and you talk about, getting a chance to play in the Pac-12, which one of those Power 5 conferences, but what was the big difference, playing in the Pac-12 versus the Mountain West, for example, because being on Central Time here in Illinois, I mean, people are going to stay up and watch those Pac-12 games. They're also going to watch a lot of the Mountain West stuff, but more so everyone's eyes seem to be on those West Coast late night Pac-12 games, and the Mountain West kind of takes a backseat, but it's still this incredibly underrated conference that's produced a lot of good talent over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge drop off at all. And I think going to the Mountain West every day was just as competitive. You play against, you have good DNs you're going against, good D tackles. Like, it's a competition every single day. There's no games off. Some of the opponents we went against this season, some of those DNs could have played, anywhere in the country. And, every week was a challenge, and the preparation was the same. Every one of the games the same. Nothing really dropped off in that sense. And I'd say the biggest difference between, Boise and stuff is Boise has that blue collar mentality, just kind of a different way to go about things. And it was pretty cool to be a part of that. So I wouldn't say there was a huge drop off too between the conferences. So,
I mean, that's awesome because I feel like, people have this perception of college where if you don't play at like one of the incredibly big schools, then you're not playing against like top tier talent at all. But you talk about playing against some of those defensive ends that could play anywhere in the country. I mean, did you ever have a kind of team that you absolutely look forward to going against just because there was kind of a mutual respect between both sides, or you had a really good relationship with someone that was on the other team, and so it was fun going against someone that maybe was a friend or something or an acquaintance?
Yeah, actually, one was this year. We played against New Mexico, and I actually played with a D-end that played on New Mexico. I played with him at Washington State, so getting to play against him, Gabe Lopez, he was, a good player, and it was kind of weird not to, it's the quarterback's actually live in the game in practice. You can go get a sack or give up a bad play, and, they got a tap off, but it's kind of weird to go up against someone you practice against for 2-3 years and then have to actually play them in a real life situation. But that was definitely the most fun, and it's just the most fun game overall is always Fresno State at Boise, kind of that rivalry. Going in with that chip on your shoulder. We have something called the milk can where if you win the game, you get the milk can, you get to take it back to Boise or Fresno. So that was always a really good game just to be a part of.
I mean, yeah, I've seen some of those like Boise State versus, Fresno State games. It gets exciting. And me, being my background as well, like being a coach and everything, I get into it too. But you talk about playing at Boise State, you talk about it basically running in the family with your dad playing there, your brother playing there. You can never underestimate, I think, the impact that your parents have on you growing up. What advice did your dad give you, right, when you ultimately made that decision to say, hey, I'm kind of saying goodbye to Washington State and I want to go to Boise State now? Because he's someone that's, been there before, so he ultimately knows what it's like.
Yeah, he was super supportive, and I think that's what's so cool about our parents is no matter what decision we make, they're going to be the first to have our backs. So in the long run, he didn't want me to just go to Boise because he went there. He wanted me to make the best decision for myself going forward, and it just worked, and happened to be Boise State. So he knew some of the coaches there. Had kind of a background through friends that he had, and it was very trustworthy, and he was definitely able to help me out. And at the end of the day, if it didn't end up being Boise, he would have helped me go somewhere else, but it did, and I couldn't have made a better decision. It was cool to see him have my back as well as my mom too. So
Yeah, that is definitely awesome. So, you've played offensive line pretty much your entire college career, right? How do you describe who you are, as a player in terms of, the offense that you may fit into, your mentality when it comes to playing the game? And, more importantly, right, have you played O-line your entire life, or did you throughout like youth football and high school maybe have to play a couple different positions?
yeah, so I'll start off with that. I played quarterback up until my junior year of high school, so that was something that was definitely a big change. I wasn't a very good quarterback, so I had to make the best decision for myself at the end of the day, and it was to switch over to O line. And having a dad that played O line, kind of made that easier as well. So, but one thing I'd say about myself is I like to finish every play, get down the field and pick up the running back. That's one big thing for me. Obviously there's still some things I need to work on, run and pass game that I'm taking the time to do right now, just like everyone, and the offense I'd fit into. I mean, this is a passing league now. It's definitely coming in as a passing league. So I'd say I like that mixture of run and pass, but at the end of the day, it's whatever team takes me, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make an impact on that team, whether we're running or passing the ball more. But we were a mid-zone team in college, so that's a lot of what I like, and kind of that outside zone. And yeah, I'm open to whatever at the end of the day.
So, you mentioned that mid zone running game, and I think it's certainly something that's kind of taken over the league over the last couple of years simply because you've got like Sean McVay and the Rams. I know when I go back and I watch them, they run a lot of like mid zone stuff. They run, a lot of play action off that mid zone. Kind of, break down everything that or just some stuff that you learned about the mid zone running game that you feel like is absolutely essential for someone that may not be so familiar with it.
Yeah, I'd say the first thing is running off the ball. You can't be hesitant. You have to get those first two steps in the ground, run off the ball, and get to your landmark. Kind of that, let's say I'm playing tackle, kind of that far hat reach, getting my hat across. That's one thing, but you have to have speed off the ball. If you're slow off the ball, that defender's going to get penetration, get up the field, and they're going to have control of the play. But if you get to your spot quicker than they do, and kind of get your hands inside and drive them on that angle you want to take them at, you're going to have a better chance of winning. But the more you hesitate, the worse you're going to do. So just run off the ball with confidence, and that's what it starts in practice. Honestly, just working on those fundamentals, those first two steps, and taking it into real life in the game. So.
Yeah, I mean, mid zone is so interesting because I feel like, for me, I've kind of always looked at it as being like this hybrid between like inside but also outside zone because I feel like it incorporates, elements from both. But getting back to, who you are as a player, kind of when did you feel like, and realize and understand that, okay, if I'm going to be a successful offensive lineman, that I need to go ahead and basically play through the whistle, be the type of guy that's going to get to the second and sometimes even the third level and not be afraid to, pancake a linebacker or a safety after I'm done with my initial assignment?
Yeah, I mean, that takes, obviously, like I said, like practice. You can't just go in there and decide, okay, I'm going to finish. Like it has to start in practice, whether you're going against the scout team, your first team guys, anything like that. You have to kind of, that mentality starts in practice and goes on to the game. But if you have that mentality every play that I'm going to go finish someone in the backfield, I'm down the field, anything like that, finish them, off the sideline, whatever it is. If you play with that mentality every play, it's going to help you out a lot in the end run. And that took me a little while to pick up, especially in high school, like becoming a new offensive lineman and really learning what it's like to finish every play. That took a bit. But once I got to college and really was around some dogs and like some dudes that had been around this game for a while, it was, easy to see that I had to finish every play to get on that field. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's this kind of underrated, aspect of playing offensive lineman that I think a lot of people don't notice necessarily is just how do you, continue finishing, right? Because as an O lineman, like you are kind of where the play starts and sort of ends in a sense because everyone else's success is kind of predicated on, how good the O line is. But you talked, earlier about who you were as a player in terms of being able to finish through the whistle, getting to that second, that third level. I mean, growing up, were there any sort of specific players that you maybe watched and always kind of looked up to that you said, hey, I've always wanted to model my game after that guy?
Yeah. I mean, you see guys like Taylor Lewan when he was playing, like how physical he was, even, after the games and stuff too. But like he would get all chippy. But I think just how he played every play, like he played every game like it was his last. And he really was physical just to the end of the whistle, was always stepping up for his quarterback on the field and up for his teammates as well. So someone like that. And then there's so many guys out there. Like, I mean, I love watching Lane Johnson. I love watching, some of the best tackles in the game, but there's also like, you just see it on film all the time, especially when I'm watching the NFL, like who finishes and who doesn't at the end of the day. And it's pretty cool. So I definitely just model my game after Taylor Lewan is one guy I really watch a lot. So.
Yeah, Taylor's just sort of like, I loved watching him play every Sunday because there was this sort of like nasty mean streak that he had that I don't think quite frankly was talked about enough. But considering this is, a Bears podcast and we sit here and we cover the Bears like constantly, I mean, what Bears fans know about you as a person, but also as a player, especially if you do end up here in Chicago?
What should they know about me? One thing is, like I said, I mean, on the field, I finish, I'll give them my all, no matter what. Like, I will really give everything I have to whatever organization I end up in. And that's off the field, too. Like, I love doing stuff off the field with fans or just people in general that I can make an impact on. So no matter what, at the end of the day, whatever happens in this situation, I will give my all to whatever opportunity I get. I just need one. So that's it at the end of the day. Just give me an opportunity. I'll make the most of it.
All right, so I have to go ahead and ask you, right, the kind of same question, but also sort of opposite. What specifically do you know about the Bears, but also in general, the city of Chicago?
So I have a couple of friends from Chicago. I don't know a lot about it. One guy I do watch a lot that just got released is Charles Leno. He is one guy I really looked up to, especially coming from Boise State. I watch a lot of his film, but I don't know a whole lot about Chicago. I mean, I hear about what my friends say. I have 3 friends from there, and I need to go. Either way, I need to get down there at some point because I need to go visit them because they've been up to my state of Washington, and they've came and visit me. But I need to go check it out for sure.
I mean, hey, if you're ever here, I will give you, suggestions and stuff. Maybe I'll even be like, all right, dude, let's go grab some deep dish pizza because you can't, ever visit but not have like deep dish pizza. But
real pizza, yeah.
Yes, exactly, real pizza. And it's funny, right? Because my dad and my dad grew up in that New York, New Jersey area, and then I also lived there for about 7 to 8 years of my life. So I've kind of been on the end of New York thin crust pizza, but also then Chicago deep dish pizza, which, side note for the listeners, I do think deep dish is objectively better, but it does depend on where you get it from. Speaking of food, though, do you have any like pregame routines or meals that you kind of go ahead and stick to, something that's just become like a thing for you before games or even
Yeah,
after games?
yeah. So usually I try to keep it light before the game, but I have like a baked potato loaded up, put some butter or sour cream, whatever they got, and like some bacon on there. So I'll get that, and then I'll have like a couple bread rolls, and then like some pasta. So just pretty simple, but I try to keep it light so I'm not like feeling it during the game. So yeah, it's nice though. That's what I've stuck to.
That is definitely good. I mean, I could definitely go for a baked potato and some pasta right now. But,
Right.
earlier you mentioned the concept of just being able to go ahead and watch film. And it's like you can't become a better football player, in my opinion, unless you are actively watching film. Like there's the stuff that you do on the field, and then there's like the tangible off the field stuff that you need to do. I mean, what's your process for going through watching film on opponents, but also going ahead and, self scouting yourself? And do you maybe, considering your family's pretty much a football family, watch film with your dad as well as your brother?
Yeah, I don't watch film with them, but I mean, my dad, he'll always just kind of watch games. At the end of the day, he doesn't really know fully what's going on because I don't tell him everything, because I got to keep some stuff out of the way. So, but I mean, he'll give me little things he sees on TV or when he's watching the game, and I'll, little critiques and stuff like that. Just like hopefully one day I can give to my kids at some point. So, um, but I'd say the biggest thing for me is I take film very seriously. That's one thing that I spend a lot of time doing. I spend, usually in between during the season, in between practice and meetings and all that, I'd sit there all day and just break down our next opponent and write a bunch of notes. Watch third downs, second downs, mixed downs, all that, and third and longs, whatever it is. Just kind of split up days and get ahead on the opponent. So that way when we're watching film the next day, I'm not behind or anything like that. Like I already know, he's doing this on this play, whatever it is, and what does he like to do on third and long versus third and medium, things like that. Just small things that I can figure out through watching extra film and that I can help my teammates with as well. So I think film is huge. So
I know, yeah. Film is definitely this thing that it's like I feel like I get lost sometimes in it because I can sit there and pull something up and just start watching it, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, like me being a guy whose background is wide receivers and DBs, I mean, it's easy for me to kind of like get lost in everything. But how would you describe, your leadership mentality in terms of, who you are as a leader, what you bring to the table, because your experience is unique in the sense that you played at one school and then now you're at another school. And, even though we live in a world of, NIL and transfer portal and all that type of stuff, that again has kind of become a point of contention in college, there's still guys who will kind of just play their entire college careers with one school.
right. Yeah, I think coming into Boise, I always say this, but I had to earn a lot of respect from the O-line room, especially the team as a whole, of course. But the O-line room is where I was going to spend all of my time, most of my time. So I had to really earn the respect of the guys in that room. So that was the first thing, and that first year was really cool to see. We had a leader in that room already that I could learn off of. You know, including Washington State, I could take what I learned there and bring it over to Boise and kind of help in that room as well, just through my experience. And, having more experience at Boise and getting to learn from the leader that we previously had and then being able to take over that role, my 6th year last year was pretty cool. And I think just as a leader, I bring that mentality, that finishing mentality, that hard working mentality to everyone in that room. And I kind of set the standard. I try to set the standard. And bring others that may be at the bottom up with me. And then it was easy last year because there was a lot of guys on that O line that wanted to work very hard and that were determined to be one of the best O lines in the country. So it was pretty cool to be a part of that room and be a part of such a successful room as well.
Absolutely. I mean, let's got about two more for you here, but let's take it back to Friday Night Lights real quick because I feel like, when you are actively involved in high school football, there's always kind of that one coach, or it could even be coaches, plural here, that has this impact on you that even after you graduate from high school, you will kind of go ahead and keep in touch with because you felt like as a player but also as a person, you develop this special bond with them that extended beyond just the typical, player coach relationship. Who was that, coach or coaches for you?
Yeah. So Coach Monin was my old line coach. You actually just reminded me I need to call him because I haven't talked to him in a bit. So I definitely need to get on the phone with him. We talk as much as possible. He'll ask me, how everything's going all the time, even if it's just a text message. When I'm back home, we'll go get dinner. So things like that. And then my head coach, Coach Maxwell, he lets me come into the weight room every time I'm back, wants me to come in and get lifts. All the guys that are playing ball still, he has them come in and just lift and hang out and wants to see what we're up to. And, he'll send us good luck texts all the time. So those two really come to mind. It's really cool to have those guys still in my life. And my dad's helping coach O-line at my old high school now, so he's kind of an assistant there. So he's always around that too, and we all have that special connection. So it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. So, what is it like getting a chance to kind of go back home and see, hey, this is, where it all started, but also kind of just getting a chance to, give those 15, 16, 17 year olds, some advice because they do want to, potentially play at the level that you're playing at.
Right. I don't think I get to do that enough, and that's one thing I love to do whenever I'm home. Go into the weight room. If any kids want to come up to me and talk to me, like I'm always available. Always want to give them advice, and there's never any acting cool or anything like that. Never any of that. So I'm always there to help them out and just see these kids like working out in the weight room, and it's just like us 7, 8 years ago. So trying to get big and strong for the upcoming season and playing two other sports at the same time, trying to get that in as well. So it can be hard, and I'm always willing to give any advice I can. So
Absolutely. It's always good when they, have someone that is not a, parent or a aunt or uncle or a coach, someone that's kind of been through the system to get advice from. But where you working out now and what is your daily routine like?
yeah, so I'm working out at Lando Performance in Colorado. So I'm down here. We run at 9 in the morning. We lift at 1, and it's just a weekly thing. So we're just getting ready for pro day. Want to have the best numbers possible, and I think all of us are kind of getting to that point where we're ready to go. And some guys start their pro days this week, and yeah, so I'll be training here again in April as well, just up until the draft, and just kind of see what happens from there.
Sounds so fun. I mean, I'm sure I would trade the weather and the atmosphere in Colorado right now for whatever is going on outside my window here in Illinois. But
Yeah.
because it's kind of been thunderstorming all day. But where can people follow you on Twitter and keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah, just Cade Beresford is my name on Twitter, and then my Instagram. Let me pull this up. It is Cade Beresford 57. So you guys can follow me on all those, and I'm not a huge poster. I just like to put stuff up every once in a while. But yeah, you can follow me on those.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Thanks so much for hopping on the show, Cade. Keep in touch. If you're ever in Chicago, let me know. I'd love
I'll
to,
let you know.
catch up sometime. We'll definitely have to chop up and, talk about football over some deep dish pizza, but best of luck the rest of the way. And you're welcome on here anytime.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.